In a similar sense to the calculator, we need to know our log tables. If you are studying maths at any level, you need to be sat in your class while you're doing your chapter with the log tables open. You need to see who is in the log tables while you're learning the topics, okay? Because that also highlights what is not in the log tables. There's a sizable number of formulas not in the tables book, so you need to have them sussed. And if you've done the following chapters that we go through, you should be working to memorize these formulas. I kind of think back to my time in college, particularly when I had to learn a hell of a lot of formulas, or even for Leaving Cert. It's not easy. It's rote learning. It's not pleasant. And there could be up to 30 formulas that you need to memorize if you're doing maths and physics, say. So you need to find time early on to get them learned off. So in fifth year, if you've come across any of these topics, get these drilled into your head now. If you're in sixth year and you're working on your study and you've covered these topics already, you need to find the time to figure them out. You might have to sit and write each formula out 20 times. And if that's what it takes, do it. I know myself, I would have at times made up little rhymes or little stories or used people's names, Alan and Bob or whatever it might be, to create a story around the formula. If that's what it takes as well, do that, but just make sure you know your story. So again, we're going to share this up on our blog. All these formulas for both higher level and ordinary level will be available for you to look back on. So here you can see the plethora of probability formulas at higher level. Statistics is the big one. And I always hear students say, oh, but there's bits of it in the log tables, there's parts of it. Yes, there are small pieces of the confidence interval formulas in the log tables, but they're given names that mightn't say a confidence interval. They might be called standard error or things like that. So just get them learned off. Statistics is the big one because you can't really enter the statistics questions at ordinary level or at higher level when they're talking about empirical rule or hypothesis testing if you don't have the formulas. So get them sussed, get them learned off. And for formulas like these, the ones that aren't in the tables, you will get some marks for writing them down in a relevant question. And I suppose this brings along the angle of, what about the formulas that are in the tables? So let's just say you are doing the area of a circle question and you write down the wrong formula. You're getting no marks, simply because the examiner is saying, well, I've given them the log tables with the formula and they've written it down wrong. So you won't get any marks for just writing a formula that's in the tables. You might get some marks for writing down the correct radius of that circle or something like that. But the examiner often isn't generous if a formula is written down wrong that is in the tables. However, for the ones that aren't in the log tables, like these ones, you may get some low partial credit for simply just writing down the correct relevant formula. You get even more for subbing some numbers in. Moving along here, there's some common formulas now for higher and ordinary level that aren't in the table, say for sequences and series, for area and volume. Now, looking at the higher level, and I suppose when I put this up into the blog, I was saying to myself, are these more methods or are they formulas? For the sum of two cubes and the difference of two cubes, I suppose they are a formula or an identity, but the discriminant down below is perhaps more of a method. And I know, say, for calculus and differentiation, there's a lot of methods. We haven't included those here simply because they're not necessarily a formula, they're more of an approach of how to do something. In the maths world, I'll not bore you with it. There is some, I suppose, controversy over whether the sum of two cubes and the difference of two cubes needs to be learned off. Technically speaking, if the examiner was to ask you a question on it, they would provide those formulas. However, there's often times that the sum of two cubes and difference of two cubes can be used to advantage you in a question. So I'd just simply get them learned off. Last couple of formulas here, we have our trigonometric functions for Leaving Cert higher level, and I have the ordinary level probability formulas here too.